Hey tribe. So this week I was confronted with something really traumatic and it really consumed me. I didn't sleep for days. I was extremely anxious. I had to really kind of confront some deep demons and it was really rough. And two things came to mind. Firstly, how it triggered a very traumatic experience I had a couple of years ago during a hostage situation, which very few people know about. And the other point was how many of us and myself give our power away to people that don't have any control over us, but by their actions may trigger insecurities, weaknesses, or any other traumas, and by doing that can manipulate situations for their own gain. So the first one, the first part of that is having to deal with your stuff. And I mentioned in previous videos that, for you to realize, to kind of like step into the light, into your truth and into your power, you really have to go into the dark spaces. The challenge is a lot of times we don't realize that we haven't processed everything in our pasts, and realize that while we are now moving through the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension, we are going to be confronted with all of the darkest parts of our lives, of our psyche, and of our pasts. So I've realized that there's a part of my life, or a part of an experience in my life that I have not fully processed and dealt with. And the feelings of helplessness and insecurity, being unsure, and all of that happened to me and somebody very special in my life a couple of years ago during a very traumatic hostage situation, all came back. And I had to deal with all of that anxiety and fear all over again. And even where I'm sitting here now, I'm still experiencing some of that stuff. It's kind of like still there. So it made me realize that I have to be open to what's happening in the world right now, and that I am on many levels are going to be triggered by things that will allow me the opportunity to bring those things to light and to deal with them and start processing them properly. And the second part of my realization was that I needed to take my power back. And taking my power back in this specific instance meant that I needed to go to the police. I had to open up a case of harassment, and I've compiled evidence, and now I need to sit with the situation if I'm going to hand that in, and have a harassment order and a court interdict against a syndicate of really bad people. And but it meant that I needed to take the power back. And in taking the power back, it also allows you, in a way, to start dealing with some of the stuff that from the past I felt I had no power over. And I was subjected to that situation and the circumstances completely helpless until I could eventually stand up and just say no more. But it did trigger me, and I've had to go through that. So this week has been exceptionally traumatic for me on many levels. And I'm dealing with kind of like the internal and the personal aftermath of that. However, I am standing here saying that I don't want that as part of my victim story either, and I don't want to become part of my narrative, and therefore I'm actually even putting it out there so that I can own it and say that I will not tolerate that. And in doing that, when we say that, it reminds me, and I'm hoping to remind all of you, that tribe, we are part of God. We are part of the creator of source. That makes us creators ourselves. That makes us creators of universes and worlds, and we need to own that. Too many people out there, too many of you are currently being tormented by people, being abused, being bullied, being pushed into certain situations doing things or having to do things that goes against who you are as a human being. And let me tell you, that comes in different forms. It could just be a very difficult boss, or a very difficult friend, or a very difficult life partner that really kind of confronts you to really go against things that sit right with you, and goes against you as a person and you as a being. So I urge all of you to realize that, to understand that, and to then step into your power. It made me realize that there were so many moments in my life, in my past, decades even, where I felt completely helpless against people that I thought and felt were more powerful or stronger or had something over me. And I did not stand up for myself, or did not stand up enough for myself in those time frames. I was emotionally abused in my life. I was physically abused in my life. I was bullied for most of my life. And I either didn't stand up or did not stand up strong enough. And this was just a reminder for me of some of those things. And I know that there's a lot of you that are going through those experiences right now. And it's time to stand up for yourself. We have got incredible gifts and powers, and many of those powers and gifts are superpowers actually, are slowly but surely switching on. And it is our time to step into our truth right now, to own who we are as creators, and to own our lives and our identity, and ultimately take the power back in terms of our sovereignty of who we are as beings on this planet. In doing so is also to realize that a lot of the nonsense that is playing itself out in other parts of our lives, our realities and things, also need to come to an end. And we need to start speaking that out and speaking that truth, so that we can actually end that nonsense as well, so that we can start co-creating a new earth and start stepping into a new life, and actually start taking ownership for the situations that we are in. And this comes on multiple levels, micro, macro, and even on global levels. But yeah, on a lighter note, it's not necessarily easy. Oh, you can see I'm still kind of like dealing with some of that kind of aftermath. But let me tell you, it is some of the most liberating experiences when you can just go and enough is enough. I urge you to do that. And if you don't know how, then speak to people that you trust, that can guide you, that can give you the confidence, that can give you the courage, that can stand by you, with you, that can even just remind you of how powerful and amazing you really are, and that you deserve more. All of us deserve more. What's really come to light for me is that I realized that a lot of times that my aim to help people, and not help them necessarily, but to be there for people, also makes me vulnerable. And I won't let that make me less, because vulnerability is a very powerful place to be. But you realize that there are certain people that ultimately deserve the help at the right time, because they are taking ownership of their situations and their lives, and other people that are not. And be very open and realizing that there's a difference between them, and be careful who you actually give your power and your vulnerability away to. So, yeah, I just urge you to step into your power. You know, people try, just do it, and just say no to the situations that you are being confronted with, that is making you less and making you feel less than who you really are. Again, I'm sending you lots of love and light, and I'm sending you so much strength and courage, so that you can own this for what it is and be the magical, incredible beings that you are. Have an awesome day.